Good evening, my dear FUXIONers from the United States. We're gonna wait for a moment. We've got people connected already. Good evening. Tell us in the comments where you're hearing us from. With us, we have Dr. Ivan Columbus, who's connecting with us from Lima, Peru. Dr. Columbus is a scientist, researcher, a biologist, master in nutrition, and his scientific background started in the 1987. He's worked doing amazing things, dedicated to the field of nutrition and biotechnology for 20 years, and in on April 2005, he joined the founder team of FUXION as the chief of the scientific department. My dear Dr. Columbus, welcome. Today, he's going to talk to us about the system of base products. True. Thank you very much for the presentation, Christina. How is everyone doing, my dear friends? Good evening. As I said a moment ago, it's a pleasure to be again with you through this online platform to continue to share a lot of the knowledge about the function products.
I want to welcome also all our friends that do not speak Spanish. Yes, you are welcome to this meeting, and I hope this information accomplish your expectations. Entonces, vamos a continuar en esta reunión.
So we're going to go on with this meeting. I'm I'm going to confess that it's kind of weird to explain it in Spanish, but to read the presentations in English. But I've prepared to give you a very effective information. The first thing I would like you to deep dive into is this function products matrix because it's going to help us understand where we are really located at the moment of recommending the products. You see, and on this side you have the famous 1, 2, 3, where 1 means cleanliness and balance. The first thing that we do and recommend when we start our consumer products is to do a cut, a suspension of all those negative habits, of those harmful habits for our body. That way of feeding ourselves that's very harmful junk food and fast food and all things, and removing from our body the scars of that terrible past because those toxins have been left in our body, and those um, many of those free radicals are also left in our body. So what we need is to break the past through a cleansing step, then to go through a regeneration step, and the nutrients for regeneration that we need for our body by excellence is protein. And as you see, we have three choices of protein, our three products based on protein. And finally, a third step which goes along it, which is the step of revitalization, including in our daily nutrition vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and a lot of and some other nutrients. For that, we have products as Vita Energy and Vita Extra, or Vita Energy and Vita Extra, and including within our daily nutrition. It's important to also include fiber, and for that, I recommend a product called Floral Lift. So, what's recommended is that every day in that detoxification process, I should include in my daily nutrition protein-based products, products based on vitamins and minerals, and a source of fiber. And that is non-negotiable. That means no matter my current health condition, I should have that. I mean, if I'm a person that right now is not suffering any diseases, it's even better. It's a good time to incorporate these healthy food habits in our daily nutrition. Okay, how to recommend a protein? Specifically, I recommended asking two questions. For instance, the first question that I ask is, are you a sport person? Because if you're a sport person, we have a specially formulated protein for you, which is called protein active. And protein active sport. If a person answers that she's not a sport person, I ask the following question: do you have overweight? If a person has overweight, if the answer is yes, I recommend the protein active fit. And for people who are not sport people and who do not suffer any overweight, the protein is protein active. Simple, right? Very simple to recommend. Of course, we need to recommend also if these people have any restrictions in their food, especially if they have the consumption protein restricted. Then we have revitalization. Basically, the basic condition is to know if a person suffers or not of hypertension. If a person has a blood hypertension, the product to give them, to offer them is energy or Vita energy. And if a person does not have any hypertension, is Vita or Vita T, Vita XT plus. And Floral Live is a product for all people, no matter your condition. Your source of fiber and probiotics is called Floral Live. And that's the recommendation that we need to keep for a long time. And when I say long time, I'm referring to months or even years, long time. And the empowering products gather to consumption of products of a basic system, of a base system, or of a core system, gather, join to empower action. It does not replace them. So, in all recommendations of function products must start by the core system, always, all the time. That means we must keep the system of deintoxication to go to consumption of proteins, vitamins, and fibers for a very long time. That's the essential scheme of consumption. Now, if there's a moment in my life that can be, for instance, today, nowadays, in which we're living in a pandemic environment, I'm interested into incorporating products to reinforce my immune defenses. I could recommend empowering products as Grano Plus Cappuccino, Grano Plus Tea, or Vera Plus. If I want to lose body weight, I could incorporate to the base system or of a core system. I could incorporate a, a thermal tea, no carb tea, cafe and cafe fed, or even protein soup. These empowered products can be changing over time, but what's essential is to keep the daily consumption scheme of protein, vitamins, and fiber. Let's see the products of a system for cleaning and balance. Here we have several products. First of all, Pronex One, which is a herbal tea with a laxin effect. It's very mild laxin. And then as probiotic fiber, we have floral leaf and liquid fiber. The difference between floral leaf and liquid fiber is that floral leaf incorporates besides fiber a probiotic culture. Those probiotic cultures are not in liquid fiber. That's the essential difference. And then for the cleaning action in the body, we have two products. Alpha Balance for the internal detoxification of the body, of blood and internal organs, and Berry Balance for cleaning of the urinary ways. Next, we're going to talk in details about each one of these products. First of all, Pronex One. It's an amazing herbal tea with a soft laxing effect, which has a very delicious taste. I, I I have to confess that I use Pronex One to improve the flavor of some products that I also consume because I like the flavor of that product. It's really delicious. It has a delicious flavor and 100% natural ingredients that give us a lot of benefits to regulate the intestine um, traffic. It's a product that we need to offer, first of all, to those people who suffer from chronic uh, constriction, people who suffer from occasional constriction, and also to those people who would like to go through a cleaning process. Those are the three recommendations of a product that we must do. Pronex one is based in the use of
un
Gindom.
largo récord de uso
They have a large record of
tradicional
traditional
como
use.
medicina
It's an
tradicional.
item of traditional
El
medicine.
origen del
I
uso
think the origin or the use
viene de la
of
India, si no recuerdo mal,
Gindom comes from
pero
India,
tiene un largo historial de
but it's
uso
got a
en
long use
sanidad,
background for
tratamiento y
relieving
prevención
constriction and
y para prevenir
constipation
diversos desórdenes
and to prevent different
intestinales.
disorders at an intestinal level.
Segundo,
One more
tenemos
important
psyllium.
ingredient
Psyllium
of
en realidad es la cáscara
the
de una
product is
semilla de una planta
psyllium or
llamada
xylem. Xylem
lavanda,
is
¿sí?
like the
Y
skin
es
of a plant,
sumamente
of a
rico, es
seed,
decir, tiene
and it's
10
rich
veces
in
más
fiber.
fibra
It's got
soluble
10 times more
que
soluble
el
fiber than
salvado de avena. Imagínense ustedes.
the
¿Por qué
oat
me refiero al salvado de avena? Porque el salvado de avena es una suerte
whole
como de
bread
mezcla
because it's
generalmente
kind of some
incompatible
like
con
some
algunas personas
standard.
que puede ser
Even physicians, when a
incompatible
person
con
needs
el
to
tratamiento
decrease cholesterol, they
tradicional
recommend to
pues bien,
consume
imagínense que psyllium
oat
compone
bran,
10
and it
veces más
contributes 10 times
fibra
more fiber,
soluble
soluble fiber, than
que el salvado de avena. Y es muy usado
oat
para, por
bran, and
ejemplo,
it's very used, for instance,
todos
for
los síndromes del intestino como el síndrome
syndromes of intestine
irritable
as irritable
intestinal.
colon syndrome.
¿Por qué? Por una razón muy sencilla.
Why? For a very
Ayuda a
simple reason.
suavizar las heces
It
de los
helps to
alimentos por
soften
constipación,
the
ayuda a
feces,
reducir los niveles altos de colesterol
reducing
y es también
constipation, and it
muy
helps
efectivo
reduce
preventivamente.
cholesterol, and it's also a preventive tool of diarrhea.
Y este es un tip que les voy a dar.
And
Cuando
this is
tengo
a
enfrente de mí
advice that I'm
un
going to give you.
diarreas,
When I have a person with diarrhea in front of me,
lo que
I
ustedes
should recommend is a
recomendaría liquid fiber,
source of fiber as
no light, pero solamente
floral
poner
leaf
lo
or liquid fiber,
necesario.
but just with
Fiber
half a glass of water.
poca agua, más nunca
Because fiber
llene el
with
estómago.
little
Como
water
decían las abuelitas, ayuda a hacer estómago.
constrains
Es un conocimiento
stomach.
ancestral.
It is an
Otro
ancestral
componente
knowledge.
tenemos
What
en
other
Pronex 1,
ingredients we have in Pronex
kelp,
one? We have
que es un
kelp,
alga, es un
which is an
alga
algae, is an
mucilaginosa.
it's a
Mucilaginosa quiere decir
mucilagous algae.
gelatinoso.
That means it's
Puede
a
ser rico
jelly
en
algae,
minerales,
which is rich in
vitaminas y
minerals, vitamins,
antioxidantes
and
de alta
other
acción,
nutrients with
físico,
action, with a
antidiarreica,
digestive action, anti-diarrhea action,
antibacterial.
and it
Es
helps
decir,
eliminating heavy
ayuda
metals.
a
That means
prevenir la producción
it helps for cleaning
de
also,
exceso
and it
de
helps
gases
controlling the overproduction of
intestinales.
intestinal
Y por
gas.
último, tenemos el mucílago de la
And
linaza.
finally,
La
we have
linaza
the
que es muy famosa
mucilage of
también en Latinoamérica y en todo el
it's
mundo.
got an ancestral
Es también un mucílago
effect in all the world.
serrano
It's a
y
mucilage also is
podemos hablar de una
jelly
fuente de
and
energía
is a demonstration that it is a source of
ayuda
soluble fiber,
en primer lugar a
and
reducir
it also helps
niveles de
reduce
colesterol. De hecho, tiene
the
la
levels
capacidad
of cholesterol. And indeed, it has the
de gran parte
capability of absorbing
de
great
esa
part of the cholesterol coming
energía.
into our body
Otra
through
ventaja
diet,
es
and at the
que
same
contiene
time,
aceites omegas que
it's a
ayudan
source of
a
omega
prevenir la reabsorción de
oil or
ácidos
fatty
grasos.
acids
Entonces, fíjense
um,
ustedes,
for
una
digestion.
maravillosa
So you see
combinación
this amazing
de Prunex
makeup
con
of Prunex
Prones,
with
con Psyllium, con la fibra de
Psyllium
Psyllium,
or
con Kelp,
psyllium
que es esta
with
alga
kelp,
mucilaginosa,
which is this
y
mucilage
el
algae,
mucílago
and
de,
mucilage
de la linaza.
of
Acompañado también, no lo he
all of that
mencionado,
also joins. I
con
haven't mentioned, but
el
by
anís estrella. Entonces,
star
esta
anise.
composición hace de Prunex
So
la
this
mejor
makeup makes
alternativa para
Prunix the best
controlar los
choice
cuadros
to
para
control
prevenir los
the
cuadros de estreñimiento y de estreñimiento crónico.
symptoms of
Vamos
chronic
a
constipation. And how do you use
Prunex 1. Lo vamos
Prunix
a
1?
usar cuando tenemos
We're
un
going
poco
to
de
use it
estreñimiento
when we have
crónico que consumimos
constipation. We have in cycles of consumption of 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days.
mencionar también
It's important to
que
also mention that we
la
should
primera noche,
consume
porque el
in
producto
the
se
first
consume
night because the
antes de
product is
dormir,
consumed during the night before
la
going to
primera y
bed.
la segunda noche
The
deberíamos
first and the
consumirlo
second night we
solamente
should
medio
consume
centímetro,
only
medio sobre. ¿Por qué razón?
half a stick.
Porque hay personas que son más sensibles
Why?
y hay
Because there are some
personas que
people that are more
necesitan más
sensitive and
acción
people who are less
en la
sensitive to
segunda
action
noche.
of
Entonces, primera
Gindon.
noche,
So
medio
first
sobre,
night,
segunda
half
noche, medio
a
sobre.
stick, and second night, half
Ahora
a
hay
stick.
que
Second
evaluar
night,
cómo
half a
les
stick.
fue.
The second day, we need to assess or ask the person I sold the product to.
Le voy a preguntar cómo le
I'm
fue.
going to ask the person
Él va a
how
decir, me fue muy
she
bien,
has done
voy a
with the product.
consumir este.
He can say,
Y consumirlo
I've done
medio sobre,
okay. In that case, you say, okay, you're
medio
gonna consume only half
centímetro o inclusive más.
stick in night
¿Sí?
2, 3,
O por
4,
el
5,
contrario, la
or
persona
even
me
6
puede
and 7.
decir,
Or on the opposite,
no
the
he
person
sentido
could
un efecto marcado del
tell me, I
producto
haven't had any
y
flame
está
defect of a
haciendo
product. I haven't felt the action of a
definitivamente
product,
sano. Si
and
esa persona
nothing has been regularized.
ha
So to
comido
that person, we're gonna
un
recommend
día
her
completo
to
y en la
consume
noche
to complete stick starting on night 3. Nights 3, 4, 5, and even nights 6 and 7. But those two first nights consuming half a stick of a product is very important or are very important. That I call it calibration. Evidently, if I'm in front of a person of 90, 100, or even more kilograms or pounds, 200 pounds, that person needs to have a complete stick in the first night because of a body volume. But that's about body mass. That's about assessing the condition of a person and the need of a person. So this was Phoenix one. And then we have floral lift. Remember that these processes of cleaning usually eliminate part of the intestinal flora. We need to recolonize, we need to repopulate the intestinal flora, which is just that set of bacteria that are living in our bowels and have very healthy roles or functions, as for example, preventing intestinal infections. Indeed, we know that intestinal flora is even related to immune system. It's research has demonstrated that 70% or more of the human immune system is defined by the intestinal flora. Is made up by bacteria in the intestinal flora. There is a specific type of flora in our intestine which is called probiotic flora. Pro on favor, bio life. It's a type of bacteria which instead promotes the good health, generally of lactobacillus gender and bacteria. Or pluralif is the union, the joint of probiotic fiber. When we say prebiotic, it means that it feeds and favors the proliferation of bacteria, of probiotic bacteria of the intestine. That's why we call it prebiotic. Prebiotic fiber because it favors prebiotics or probiotics. On the other hand, Prolif is rich in prebiotic cultures with Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium bifido. And indeed, the stems that we use are not wild stems. We call them in science, we call them wild stems, which are isolated from the environment but do not have any research record. We do not know exactly what they do in our body. FUXION has incorporated in Prolif, probiotic stems of Lactobacillus casei and Lactobacillus acidophilus, with a large study demonstrating its effective intestinal colonization, which is the most important thing in a probiotic stem. And second of all, actions, for example, to prevent or even to help in the treatment of Helicobacter pylori, that means gastritis, because gastritis is nothing different from an infection by a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. It's an infection that happens at the level of the stomach. And remember, for those who did not know it, I'm going to tell you, Helicobacter pylori is called the only bacteria that can cause cancer. Cancer, because indeed gastritis can end up in a gastric cancer, an ulcer by gastric cancer. Therefore, it's very important the daily provision of probiotic or prebiotic in our fiber in our diet. I'm sorry, to prevent intestinal disorders and even to help in the eradication of the causing agent of gastritis called Helicobacter pylori. Pluralif is not only a probiotic culture and fiber. It also helps us in passion fruit because it's a very important mucilage that actually calms the intestinal acidity. It's very important for those people who do not eat at times. So the recommendation is to eat, of course, at a regular times and not to skip foods. But if for some reason we cannot eat in a regular schedule, the passion fruit helps to control the acidity in the stomach. We have aguaimanto extract as an antioxidant element and iron, which helps empowers the action of our system, of our immune system. All of that in just one product called Floralif. How to consume Floralif? There are different ways of doing it. For instance, the most recommendable way is early in the morning with the stomach empty. That means once I wake up, I can take the product. So probiotic bacteria take advantage that or intestine takes advantage that the stomach is empty and that they can colonize our intestinal tract. Otherwise, I can consume it 1 hour after lunch and 1 hour after dinner. Because 1 hour after having lunch or dinner, a lot of gastric has been produced and the intestine is ready to be populated by these bacteria. Besides, the product has a natural taste of passion fruit. Another important product in the purifying process of a body is berry balance. Berry balance is a combination of berries, essentially of cranberry and of blueberry. And besides other items as the inclusion of pineapple, is rich in a substance called bromelain, which is a diuretic. It also has probiotic anthocyanin, which is an antioxidant in other items or other elements. In order to understand the role of berry balance and of a product that we're going to see next, it is important to internalize the concept of pH. The pH is an arbitrary measure of acidity or alkalinity. A Dutch scientist in 19th century created this scale in which acids, those acids that whenever we remove the flask, this smoke coming out, it could be chloride, acid, or sulfuric acid, it's got an extreme pH. And on the other hand, we have sodas or alkalines, which are basic substances. Or this researcher, this scientist, created the pH scale where the most acid is one, for instance, fuming acid, and the most alkaline sodas have a pH of 14, and the neutral point is 7. It's an arbitrary scale. He made it himself. But it's very useful because we know that all surfaces of the body, the mucus of the body, have a specific pH. In the stomach, for instance, pH is between 1 and 2. Very acid. It's rich in chlorine acid or chloride acid and low pH. Intestine is slightly acid. The small intestine pH is 6.5, 7.5, and the large intestine is between 7 and 8. And in the mucus, for example, in the case of women, the vaginal mucus, there could be a pH between 4.5 and 5.5, which is acid, and that's the pH of each mucus. So this concept is important to understand also that variations of pH, for instance, in the stomach or in the vaginal uh, area, in the case of women, can alter that micro ecosystem because inside each mucus of the human body, there are bacteria coexisting. For example, in the mouth, there are a lot of bacteria. In the stomach, a lot of bacteria living also, and in the intestine also. And again, I'm referring to, and I have to do it. I have to refer to vaginal mucus of women. Of women, there are a lot of bacteria living in a specific pH, and specifically the slightly acid pH of vaginal mucus of women is important to maintain because it prevents the colonization by potentially harmful bacteria. Pathogen bacteria or harmful bacteria usually prefer to develop themselves in a pH between 6.5 and 7.2, where when they get to a mucus with a pH between 4.5 and 5.5, that pH is adverse and they cannot develop themselves there. So it turns out that this pH is slightly acid. It turns out to be a preventive mechanism of infections or from infections. However, the hormone that changes active sexual life, the consumption of medications that are clear through the urinary ways, and the intensive exercise and the retention of liquids or urine and the permanent exposure to moisture, especially of women, causing infections. Besides, this can acidify urine, making us more prone to developing urinary calculus, renal calculus. So we need to be careful with the variations of pH in the urinary ways. Another important issue to manage is the proanthocyanidins. They are natural nutrients produced by cranberries or, or, or blueberries. Blueberries naturally produce proanthocyanidins. It's a product that have an indirect antibacterial action. Most part of urinary infections of urinary waste are caused by these agents. It's a bacteria called Escherichia coli or Escherichia coli. Um, and this bacteria, you see that in this amazing micro photo, it's got some adhesion mechanisms as these little hairs that you can see here, which are called pili or pili, and it uses them to attach itself to the tissues, for instance, in the urinary ways or channels. And proanthocyanidins have a capability of adhering itself to this pili, as you can see in the figure, removing the adhesive capability. So Escherichia coli cannot use this adhesion mechanism to the well, that's why I was mentioning that proanthocyanidins have an indirect antibacterial effect. It's not that they kill the Escherichia coli, but it just does not allow them to attach themselves to the urinary waste. And as they cannot attach themselves to the urinary waste walls, when we do, when we urinate, we eliminate these bacteria of the urinary tract. So it's an indirect way how cranberries or blueberries protect us from urinary infections. Could be by maintenance of slightly acid pH in the urinary waste, or it could be because of the action of proanthocyanidins. So, berry balance is a product that helps us prevent colonization or infections by essentially bacteria in the urinary waste, essentially in the urinary bladder. Okay, to wrap up with berry, we're going to talk about the benefits. First of all, it helps prevent infection of the urinary tracts, especially by Escherichia coli, which causes 80% or more of the urinary tract infection. It keeps the pH in the urinary uh, tracts balanced and the pH in the urine, avoiding the pH of urine to be acid, and that's a way how it prevents the formation of renal calculus and about alpha balance. Alpha balance again is a product for the balance of internal balance of the body, the balance of internal pH of the body, and also for being able to eliminate from body harmful elements as toxins, but essentially heavy metals, which can enter our body through our breathing, through our food, and even through the skin. There are some important facts to take into account when we talk about alpha balance. First of all, the cancerogenic cells in our body, which are formed every day, and we should not get scared of, because of that. But degenerated cells are forms, are pro-cancer cells are everyday formed in our body. Well, these cancerogenic or cells survive in environments with no oxygen, and they like to consume a lot of glucose in those environments with no oxygen, as long as there is no oxygen. I repeat. And second of all, we need to take into account that the healthy body likes to live in an aerobic environment. That means full of oxygen. That's why sport is very important, because sport is a way of introducing a higher intake or entering of oxygen to our body. So that's the first important fact. The second important fact is that an acid pH in the body makes us more or increases the risk of contracting diseases because acid environments or acid substances reject oxygen and instead alkaline substances attract it. So you can imagine a person that's sedentary with low oxygenation in the body and with an acid body, that person really constitutes an invitation for cancerogenic cells. That we need to take that into account. Unfortunately, Western food or modern food is full of sodas, um, soft drinks, alcohol, and alcohol excess of alcohol, excess of junk food. Okay, so I was telling you that the ideal pH of a body is 7 to 7.4. That means slightly alkaline. So introducing in our body elements that help us keep that internal pH. The best help is alpha balance because it's enriched with green elements from the nature. For instance, alfalfa, chlorophyll, which actually comes from algae, as is spirulina and chlorella, spinac, wheatgrass, gluten-free, of course. Before you ask, it's a wheatgrass, which is certified. That's gluten-free. Green apple, camu, um, minerals, and rich in vitamin C that are cleaning cleaning from heavy metals incoming into our body. For instance, sulfur items or lead from exhaust from cars, which still use lead fuels, and people smoking, and it can also be mercury. It could also be arsenic from the mining areas, especially in the water that we treat or that we drink. So alpha balance contributes to elimination of these harmful elements, besides helping us balance the internal pH of the body. Best time to consume alpha balance again in the morning or any time that we have our stomach empty. Those are the best times to consume alpha balance. And we're gonna get now in the products for nutrition and regeneration. Remember that we were talking about the regeneration was based in the protein consumption, as the human body, 70% of solid matter of a human body is built with protein. Indeed, we human beings are a protein construction. Human body is like, or protein for human body is like the cement for the construction for a house. And we have a protein that's designed 100% with vegetable origin. It's 100% natural, and it has bioavailability, high bioavailability. Why am I saying this? Because vegetable protein or naturally always shows a biologic value or bioavailability lower than proteins than animal source proteins. However, this special formulation created by FUXION has achieved a very high biologic value with 100% source, vegetable source. How using germinated proteins. In this formula, we've included rice protein and quinoa protein to have a high biology value, 100% free of allergens, without soy, without milk, and without eggs. It's a perfectly ecologic proteins. We could even say that. And starting from this designs protein by Fusion, we've created three products. The first product is Protein Active, where we've incorporated the germ of quinoa, of rice. That means proteins. I'm saying it, proteins of germinated of quinoa, of rice, proteins from green peas, and proteins coming from spirulina algae. Besides enriching it with amino acids and essential fatty acids as um, DHA and ARA and coconut oil. This protein formula, helps us have a better nutrition because it's a high assimilation protein, and besides, it's enriched with essential amino acids It provides with a higher protection of the immune system and of the antioxidant defense. And besides,
tiene mejores
it has
resultados
better
para
results for
la nutrición de nuestro sistema
nutrition
nervioso
of
y
our
el
nervous
desarrollo del
system
cuerpo, por
and
lo
the
cual también
development
es
of the body.
recomendable en
Therefore,
niños.
it is
Fíjense ustedes la
also
información
recommended.
nutricional del producto.
You
Yo
can
quisiera
see
que
the
ustedes se
nutritional
fijen sobre
information of a
todo
product, the nutritional facts.
en el
I would like
aporte
you to
proteico.
see in the protein
En
load, the
el
protein,
mercado hay
because in
muchísimos
the market there are a
productos
lot of
que
products
llaman, dentro de sus fórmulas, enmascaran el
that
real
inside the
aporte de
formulas
proteína del
mask
producto.
the
Porque una
real
persona que
contribution
busca
of
un
protein in
producto
the
fuente
product.
de
Because a
proteína
person that's looking
paga
for
su
a
dinero
protein
por
source
un
product
aporte
pays a good
significativo de
amount of money
proteína
for
y
a
no de
meaningful
otras sustancias.
intake or
Bien,
contribution of protein
si
and not of
ustedes se
other substances.
fijan en
So
esta
if you
etiqueta nutricional,
see this
y debo
nutritional
decirle que
label, I
particularmente a mí
must
como
tell you that
profesional,
especially me as
leer
a
las etiquetas
professional,
nutricionales de nuestros
reading the
productos,
nutritional
de nuestros
label
productos en general,
label of or
son
labels of our
es un
products in
motivo de
general
orgullo para
is a
mí.
reason for pride
Fíjense
for
ustedes,
myself.
está en
You
este
see
círculo rojo
that
que ven
it's
acá.
in this red circle here.
La ración del producto
The ratio of a
Protein Active,
product
tenemos
of
dos
protein
sabores,
active,
¿no?
we have two
Vainilla con
flavors,
canela y chocolate con
vanilla
avellanas.
with cinnamon
Muy
and
bien,
chocolate with
tenemos
avellana.
aquí
So
que
here
el
we
producto
have
Protein
that the
Active en su
protein
sabor
active
vainilla y
product
canela
in its
aporta
flavor
por
vanilla
ración
and
de
cinnamon
25 gramos,
contributes
como lo ven
in
acá,
5 grams
9.8, prácticamente 10
9.8,
gramos de
pretty much 10
proteína
grams of
pura.
protein,
O
of
sea,
pure
el
protein.
40% del
That
contenido del
means
producto
40% of
es
the
proteína
content of a product
pura.
is pure protein.
Y
And
en el caso de
in
la
the
proteína
case
con
of
sabor a chocolate con
protein with
avellanas,
flavor of
el
chocolate
aporte
with
proteico
avellana,
es de
the
10.6 gramos de proteína
protein
por
the
ración.
protein contribution is
10.6
10%
gramos
of
de
protein, is
proteína pura y
10.6%
además está
of pure
acompañada
protein,
de un
which
perfil
besides is
vitamínico muy
joined by a
amplio
very
donde
broad
tenemos la
vitamin
vitamina A,
profile, as we
vitaminas
have
del complejo B,
vitamin A,
vitamina
B
C,
complex
D
vitamin,
y E,
C,
además de
D, and
calcio,
E vitamins,
hierro, magnesio
besides
y zinc
calcium,
como
iron,
aportes
magnesium,
de
and zinc
micronutrientes.
as a contribution of
Todo ello
micronutrients.
hace
All of that
que
makes
Protein Active
that
sea
protein active
realmente
is
un
really
alimento completo con
a
menos de
complete
90
food with less than
calorías,
90
con menos de
calories.
90
Less than
calorías.
90 calories.
Realmente un
Really,
producto de
it's
lujo
a
para todas aquellas
fancy
personas
product.
que quieran
For all those people who want
reforzar su
to
nutrición.
reinforce their
Recuerden que
nutrition,
en el caso
remember
de los
that in the
niños,
case of
el crecimiento de
children,
los niños
the growth of
se
children
sustenta en
is
la cantidad
sustained
y
by
la
the
calidad de
amount and
las
quality
proteínas que
of
ingieren
proteins
diariamente.
that
Y
they
estamos
intake
hablando que
every
un ser
day.
humano
We're talking about that
promedio
an average
tiene
human
una
being
demanda de
has a
1 gramo
demand
de
of one
proteína
gram of
por kilo
protein
de peso.
per
Y no
kilogram of
estoy
weight. And
hablando
I'm not
de
talking about
personas que estén postradas
people
o
who
enfermas.
are
Estoy hablando de
laying or
personas
sick. I'm
sedentarias,
talking
no
about sedentary
deportistas,
people,
como de
non-sport
repente usted que
people,
me está
as
escuchando,
maybe
que
you,
necesita
the
un
person
gramo de
who's
proteína
listening
por
to me,
kilo de peso.
needs 1 gram of
Entonces
protein by
podemos
kilogram of weight. So we
reforzar,
can
en el caso de los
reinforce,
niños, reforzar para un
in the
adecuado
case of children, we
crecimiento
can
su
reinforce
nutrición
for
diaria
an
con
appropriate growth
Protein
their
Active.
daily
Y
nutrition
en
with
el
protein
caso de
active.
los
And in the
adultos,
case of
los
adults,
adultos a partir de los 40
adults
años
starting
pasamos por
from
un
40
proceso
years
natural
of
llamado
age go through a natural
sarcopenia,
process called
que es la
sarcopenia,
tendencia normal del
which is a
cuerpo
normal
a
trend
perder
of a
masa
body to
muscular.
lose muscle
Y eso nos
mass.
quita pues
And that takes away
fuerza y en el
strength from us.
caso de, de los
And in the
músculos de las
case of
piernas nos
muscles of
quita
the
también
legs, it also
equilibrio.
takes away
Pues bien,
balance.
¿cómo podemos ayudar al cuerpo a
How can
revertir
we
esta
help the body to
tendencia
reverse this trend
a perder masa muscular?
to lose um, muscle mass? Now, this product is advisable for any age, especially in children, to support the growth, and in adults starting from 40 years of age to reverse the trend to lose muscle mass, a condition called sarcopenia. And this sarcopenia is translated finally into a loss of strength, loss of vitality, and loss of balance, equilibrium, which actually can take us to use a rod or so we're gonna reduce that trend through protein active. So for people who have overweight or obese people, we also have a fit um, shake starting from our patented protein. And likewise, we've incorporated the germination of quinoa, of green peas, um, rice protein, green beans protein, and algae to support the growth and for the loss of body um, weight. The carmicine, which has a burning of grass, extract of Malabar tamarindo, which is rich in chlorogenic acid, It's important also to optimize the process of obtaining energy, vitamins, calcium, chroma, which supports metabolism of sugar in the body, zinc, among other components. So protein active strategy of this product is to consume it in the morning and in the afternoon. And it seems to me like in the case of protein active, I did not mention it, but effectively, the best moment to consume proteins in general is half morning around 10 a.m. and half afternoon around 4 p.m. Because that way we also increase the number of intakes of food a day. In the case of protein active fit, consuming a half morning shake and half afternoon, uh, half afternoon shake helps us lose weight without reducing muscle mass. When we want to lose weight, we want to lose fat, no muscle, because otherwise it will become flaccidity. It helps us have a feeling of fullness, and those critical times of the day, half morning and half afternoon, when we want to eat something. And that's a great problem for the weight control in a lot of people, which besides help me keep myself with a tonified body and to eliminate grass or fat in a shorter time. You see in the nutritional label of products, you see that I'm proud of this. I'm proud of this. The product gives you in a ratio of 25 grams, 14 grams of pure protein, and in the case of vanilla, and 14.8 in the case of chocolate with hazelnut. So 70% of a shake is pure protein, a protein of high biologic value with less than 100 calories, around 90 calories. You imagine a healthy snack, a food half morning, half afternoon that's rich in proteins, full nutrition, and with 90 calories. That is definitely supporting the process of loss of weight, body weight. And finally, for sport people, we have an increased protein demand. We also have a shake, especially for them. Although I should say for us, because you know that I am 21K athlete. Besides, I'm a biker. So we have here essential amino acids enriched in proteins that you know that are made up by um, germinated of quinoa or germinated of rice, pea protein, and we've combined that with essential amino acids. We've complemented that with vitamins, with a special amino acid for sport people that's called glutamine and branch chain amino acids, which are the ones that generate a faster muscle mass. It helps me build muscle mass that marked tonified muscle mass, which we men like it. Not only we men, but also women, and it's free of fat. Protein does not have any fat, and it helps us do it in a lesser time and in a more effective way. And besides, it helps me improve the sport performance, and it increases the muscle mass in a lesser time, in a shorter time. Besides, it's the best complement that sport people can use to improve their performance and to improve their muscle mass in a lesser time. Again, I'm proud of showing you. You see the extraordinary makeup of this product. Again, it's a complete nu- food with minerals, proteins, but vitamins, but especially proteins. In a 25 grams stick, there are 18.3 grams of proteins. That means out of 25, we're talking about 80 plus percent. Around 80% of the product is pure protein. That means
Es decir, nuestros consumidores pagan por proteína y le estamos dando un producto con
our
proteína de
consumers
origen
pay for protein, and
vegetal
we're giving them
de la
a
más
vegetal
alta
protein source of the
biodisponibilidad
highest
y el
availability of protein, and
80% de su dinero
80% of their
efectivamente
money
se
is
traduce en
effectively
proteína
translated
pura.
into pure protein.
Y en
And in
el
the
caso
case
del
of
sabor
the
de chocolate con
flavor of
avellanas,
chocolate
tenemos
with
18
hazelnut, we have
gramos
18
de
grams of pure
proteína
protein
pura,
with less
con
than
menos de
100
100
calories.
calorías.
With less than
Menos de
100 calories.
100
You
calorías.
see, for
Fíjense,
a sport
para un
person,
deportista, ya sea
it can be an
un deportista
amateur
amateur, un
sport
deportista que
person,
recién
just
comienza
beginner,
o un
or a
deportista
person that's
que ya
going
está pasando a un
to a
nivel
semi-professional or
semiprofesional
professional level,
profesional,
it's
es
really a
realmente un
nutritional
complemento
complement that's
nutricional
very important
muy importante
for
para
a
un
healthy
sano
exercise, and
ejercicio y para,
to
para
be
lograr
able to develop the
desarrollar pues
muscle
esa
mass
masa muscular
that
que tanto
we
nos
sport
gusta a los
people like
deportistas y que
like so
además
much.
nos
And
ayuda
besides, it
a
helps us
mejorar
improve our
nuestro
performance
rendimiento
in sports.
deportivo. Y
And to
para
wrap up,
finalizar,
let's talk about the
hablemos
third
del
step,
tercer
which was
paso, que era la
revitalization.
revitalización. Y
There
ahí
we have an
tenemos un
extraordinary
producto
product called
extraordinario llamado
Vita
Vita
or
Extra
Vita
T
Extra T
Plus,
Plus,
que es un producto que
which
constituye un
is a product
aporte
which
fundamental
constitutes
de
an important
micronutrientes. Estamos
contribution of
hablando, cuando
micronutrients.
hablamos de
We're
micronutrientes,
talking about there by
vitaminas,
micronutrients about
minerales
vitamins,
y
minerals, and
antioxidantes
antioxidants,
fundamentalmente
essentially
para
to
elevar de
increase
manera
in,
instantánea nuestro
in
nivel de
immediately
energía
our
a la
level of
vez que
energy. Besides, we
ayudamos a
reinforce
reforzar el
the immune
sistema
system.
inmune.
You see,
Fíjate tú,
in this
tenemos
product,
en este
we have
producto
not
no
only
uno ni
one
dos,
or two, but
sino
six
6
natural
energizantes
energizers:
naturales. Maca,
ginseng,
ginseng, té verde, la
green
teína
tea,
extraída del té verde,
ginseng,
el
green tea,
micelio del cordyceps,
cordyceps,
guayusa y goji
guayusa,
berry.
and
6
goji berry.
energizantes frutales,
Six
6
vital
energizantes
and natural
naturales. Pero
energizers. But
también hay que
here we
tener
also need to
aquí
have a
una
precaution. We
precaución.
need to be
Este
cautious.
producto es
This energizer
energizante,
product has
tiene teína, por lo
theine,
tanto no es
therefore its use is
recomendable
not
su uso o
advisable
recomendación
for people
en personas que
suffering
padecen
from
de
hypertension.
hipertensión. No lo podemos recomendar en personas
We cannot
hipertensas
recommend in
porque les
hypertensive
podría dar
people
origen
because
a
there can be
una
a tachycardia.
taquicardia. Pero las personas de
But
salud promedio o
people,
aparentemente sanas
average people
pueden
or
utilizar este
apparently healthy people
producto
can use this
una
product
o si gustan
once or even more
más
times a day.
veces al día. Mira nuevamente
You see
esta
again this
generosa
generous makeup
composición del
composition of a
producto.
product. Nine
9 vitaminas,
vitamins, two
dos
very potent
minerales
minerals
muy
as
importantes como el
magnesium
magnesio
and
y el
zinc,
zinc,
three
tres
powerful
poderosos
antioxidants,
antioxidantes
and
y un
one
aminoácido
amino acid
llamado
called
triptófano que contribuye en el organismo a
tryptophan,
la
which
generación
helps
de un
a neurotransmitter
neurotransmisor
called
llamado
serotonin,
serotonina que nos
which
otorga paz
provides
y
us with
equilibrio. Es decir, que el
balance.
producto no
So the product
contribuye a
are
aumentar el
peace and balance. So
estrés,
the
no
product
saca
does
el
not increase
estrés,
stress, but
sino que
it
es
is
una
a moderate
energía
energy.
moderada. Es
It's
una
an
energía,
energy, but
pero
it's
en control.
controlled.
Los energizantes naturales,
Natural
los
energizers,
energizantes naturales, sí,
maca.
la
I'm
maca,
going to
te voy
mention
a
a
mencionar un par de
couple of words
palabras
about
sobre
each
cada
one of
uno
them.
de ellos.
Maca
La
is
maca es una
a
raíz
root that's
originaria
original
del
from
Perú,
Peru. It's
ancestralmente
ancestrally known
conocida
from the
desde
times
la
of
época de los
Incas.
incas. Es más,
Besides,
la
maca was
maca era
considered by Incas
considerada por los
indigenous
incas un
peoples as
cultivo
sacred.
sagrado,
They
lo
con-
consumían
only the
solamente el
Inca
inca y su
chief consumed
corte
it,
y las
and the
tropas
Inca troops
incaicas
in times of
en
war.
tiempos de
It
guerra.
was
Se le
considered as
consideraba
a
una
magic
raíz
root.
mágica,
Besides,
además de que se le asocia
it's
con la
related to
fertilidad.
fertility.
De hecho, estaba
Besides, it was
reservado para
reserved
la
for
élite
the
y la
chief
corte. ¿Por
and
qué?
the court.
Porque un inca, un
Why?
gobernante
Because an
inca,
Inca
solía tener alrededor de
chief
100
used
hijos.
to have around
Saque sus
100 children,
conclusiones.
so you can get your
Luego
conclusions.
tenemos
Then
el
we have
ginseng, que
ginseng,
viene
which
más
comes
bien
from
de
Korea.
Corea. Vendría a ser un
It is
equivalente
equivalent to
de la
maca,
maca,
but it's
pero de origen
from a Korean origin.
coreano. El
Green
té
tea
verde,
coming
que
from
viene
China
de la China más bien,
and is
ya es
widely
ampliamente
known
conocido
by
por todas sus
all its
bondades.
goodnesses.
Aquí
And
utilizamos la
here we
teína de
have
la hoja
the
del té
leaf
verde y
of green
tiene
tea,
una
which has an
función
energizing
energizante.
function. The
Lo
same
mismo
thing
con el
with
cordyceps, que
cordyceps
además de energizante y
because
preventivo de la
it reduces
fatiga,
fatigue
tiene
and
acción
it has an
antibiótica y terapéutica.
antibiotic
Es un
function in the
excelente
body. It's
antimicrobiano.
antimicrobial.
La guayusa
Guayusa comes from
viene
the
de la
Amazon
selva
jungle of
amazónica del
Ecuador or
Ecuador.
from Ecuador.
Los
The origins
aborígenes del
or
Ecuador lo utilizan desde hace muchos
natives from
años
Ecuador
como
use it,
energizante y
have been using
antioxidante.
it for many
Y finalmente
years.
el goji
And
berry
finally,
es llamada
goji
la
berry,
fruta de la
which is
vida
called
en
the
China.
live fruit in
Fíjense
China,
ustedes, muy
is very
asociada con la longevidad.
related
Entonces,
to
estos seis
longevity. So
energizantes
all these items
combinados
combined
con
with antioxidants is
antioxidantes como el
like
maíz
the
morado,
purple corn,
que es
which
una
is a
especie de
type of
maíz que
corn which
solamente se
only
da en el Perú,
grows
¿sí?
in Peru
Es
and it is
consumido
ancestrally consumed in
ancestralmente
Peru.
en Perú.
We
Nosotros elaboramos una bebida
elaborate a
tradicional a
traditional
partir del
beverage
maíz morado
from
que se llama
corn,
chicha morada.
uh,
Y esa chicha morada
from
es una bebida
purple
nutracéutica en
corn,
el país, rica
which
en
is
antioxidantes,
some kind of
los
chicha,
bioflavonoides del limón
and
y,
a
bueno,
natural
un
mix
mix
of six
natural de seis
vitamins,
vitaminas,
vitamin A,
vitamina A,
six
seis
vitamins of the
vitaminas
B
del
complex,
complejo B,
including
incluyendo la
uh,
vitamina B12,
B12 vitamin,
vitamina C
vitamin
como
C as an
antioxidante y la vitamina D,
antioxidant,
que es
and
una
vitamin D, which is an
vitamina
essential
esencial
vitamin
para la
for
fijación del
fixation
calcio,
of
¿sí? Para el
calcium, for
metabolismo del
metabolism of
calcio.
calcium. So
Entonces la
vitamin D
vitamina
is
D también
very
está muy
related to
asociada
the
a
health
la salud de
of our
nuestros
bones.
huesos. Y dos
And
minerales
two,
aminoquelados que
minerals.
saben que
You
nosotros
know that
hemos
we've incorporated the
incorporado el
use of
uso de los minerales
minerals covered
cubiertos
in
en
an
nuestra
organic
molécula
molecule
orgánica
to favor
para
its
favorecer
fast
su rápida
absorption.
absorción.
We have
Tenemos
magnesium,
el
which is an
magnesio, que es un
essential element,
elemento
and
fundamental,
It intervenes in
interviene
more
en
than
más de
300
300 reacciones
metabolic
metabólicas del cuerpo,
functions in our body,
incluyendo los
including the
mecanismos del
sleep
sueño,
mechanism,
incluyendo el
including
tránsito
the
intestinal.
intestinal
Y el
traffic,
zinc
and
que
zinc, which
ayuda
helps the
a el
metabolism of
metabolismo
the
del
liver,
hígado también,
but
pero
it's an
es un
important
importante modulador de la respuesta inmunológica. Ayuda a
co-helper of the
reforzar el
immune
sistema de
response.
defensas. Entonces, tomemos
So let's drink
Vita
Vita
Extra
or
T
Vita
todos
Extra
los
tea
días
every day
para
to
asumir
assume
los
the
retos de cada
challenges of
día
every day
como si fuera el
as
primer día de
from the
nuestra
first day of our
vida,
life.
¿no? Bien,
So,
queridos
okay, my
amigos,
dear friends, I'm sorry
disculpen
for
las
the interruptions,
interrupciones,
but we've gotten
pero
to the
hemos
end of this
llegado al fin de esta
presentation.
presentación.
I don't
No
know,
sé,
dear
querida
Christina,
Cristina, si hay
Excelente.
del auditorio, encantado
Sí,
de
if we can answer
respondamos
some
un par
questions.
de
Yes, let's
preguntas,
answer
mi
some
doc.
questions.
Pidamos
Let's
aquí a
ask
la gente
people
que
who are
está
connected with
conectada
us
con
here.
nosotros.
Wow,
Wow,
we have
tenemos
so
tanta
much information,
información,
so many
tantos
products
productos
that we've had
que hemos tenido esta
this such an
información tan
important information today.
importante hoy.
I've had a
Tengo
question.
acá una
I've got a
pregunta
question here
eh,
for
a ver, espérenme un
just a second.
segundito. Proteína de
Protein,
Eric
Eric
Martínez.
Martinez.
La
Hola, Eli.
proteína
The
Fit
protein
y
active,
Sport
fit and
para
sport,
niños.
fit and
¿Desde
sport
qué
for
edad es
children. From
recomendable?
which age is it recommended? Oh, sport protein for. It's important to know at which level the child is practicing sports, because there are some parents that tell me my child is 8 or 10 and he practices soccer, but he says, oh, how many times? On weekends he plays with his friends. I wouldn't recommend protein sport in that case. Now, there are some parents that tell me my child is practicing soccer, but he leaves, he trains after school, he trains 3 times a week. Oh, that's a sport child. That's different. From 8 to 10 years of age and on, we could recommend sport protein in that case. Excellent. Does anybody else have a question that would like to ask? David Gonzalez told me the recovery of muscle. What protein would be for that case? For a case after hospitalization. I consider that it depends a lot on it depends a lot on the person, of course. But if it is a person that was hospitalized, protein active is the best protein. Excellent. And the last question to wrap up: what can be recommended as besides Prunix? Prunix, you could recommend Prunix. You could recommend Flora Live or Liquid Fiber, and you can evidently recommend Alpha Balance or Berry Balance for an integral um, purifying of the body. Indeed, you can review the page of Peru. In Peru, we have a combination which is called Factetox, which is a nutritional program of 5 days where we incorporate Prunix, Epifiber, Alpha Balance, Berry Balance, and they're products that for 5 days you consume it in a continued way for 5 days for a comprehensive purifying of the body. It's not only important to purify the colon or the intestine, but we should purify all of our body. Excellent. Amazing. Well, thank you very much, doctor. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for giving us this space this time. Thank you, Christina, for your support. And functionaries from the United States, we are talking to doctor about a next date. And soon enough, you have a new promo for an excellent training. Again, well, thank you. See you soon. Thank you. Goodbye, functionaries.